Alright, I just finished the first one off camera, and that's right here. Now, like I noted before, you don't want your fitting to twist on you while you're working or you're moving the tool around. So you see my black mark right there, and you can see a little bit of my black mark on the hose. That's so while you're positioning your ferrule and you're fitting inside the hose, inside your tool, you move things, and sometimes it'll move a little bit and a guy won't notice that, and then he crimps it down. Well, if the hose is already cut to its minimum length, you cannot cut it again and make it work. You can't pull these things straight like a piano string. They have to have give in them. So you're only allowed 0 mistakes. You are never ever allowed to make mistakes. Unless you have a lot of extra hose on, then you could just keep on going and cutting away and making mistakes. That's how some people learn. But another thing, using power impacts, like I said, is not supposed to be done on these tools, especially if you have it mounted to a bench. And that's what these holes are for you to mount this to a bench. When you mount it to a bench, it's really solid and it's not forgiving to an impact gun. But when you do it in your hand vibrates with the torque. And so if you hold an air impact or a battery powered impact on this, yes, you might do a little wear on the actual bolt up here, but your hand is taking up the torque. And as long as you never over squish it by going beyond that little bitty mark right there that you eye up with this level part right here, you won't do any damage. But another thing, when you are going to use even if you're going to do this by hand with a torque wrench or anything like that, or a wrench, you take this system apart, you get some EP grease, extreme pressure grease. You don't want high speed wheel bearing grease. You don't want Teflon, because Teflon is not a EP grease. You don't want anything. You want a grease that was meant for high torque, high impact. So you specifically put EP grease on all your threads and everything like that and run it in and out. So as you hit this with an impact gun, the EP grease prevents galling of the metals, because this is steel, zinc coated, this is aluminum or an anodized, aluminum that's a special alloy. But you don't want to cause damage on these threads anywhere inside here. So always use the EP grease on anything that you're going to use impact guns on. And if you are going to use impact, mounting it on a table will cause excessive rapid wear and reduce the life of your thing. But holding it on something flexible, and if you're in a high production shop and you say, okay, I make so many hoses, I need to mount something like this on a bench vise, go out and try to find a large rubber block, one of those really hard rubber blocks but has a little bit of flex in it, and mount one of these through the rubber block, through bolts, and then drill holes in the rubber block and mount the rubber block to the bench top. So you have some sort of forgiveness of taking up some of the rapid impact pressure to relieve the pressure on the tool's metal components so they're not getting hit so hard, instead of mounting this directly to a bench top. Now, if you're going to be really good at it and your employees will not use impact tools and you're just going to use a wrench, then you can mount this directly to a bench and not worry about hurting it by directly solidly mounting it to a bench. But I'm just telling you this so you extend the life of your tools, because your tools last you a lifetime. And I always have a hard time explaining this. That's why I have original drill bits back from when I was 20 years old, and they still are not dull and they still have not broken. The few times I've lent drill bits out is when they get dull and broken, because they didn't have formal education and taking engineering and just basic wood and metal shop and stuff, teaching you the different RPMs for the different size drill bits and what the hardness of the material you were drilling through, whether it was non-ferrous like copper or aluminum, or stainless steel compared to hard steel or mild steel. You use different RPMs for different drill bits, and you use different kind of cooling or lubricant, or non-lubricated is recommended for different kind of materials, like brass that has lead in it. It's self-lubricating. So because these things aren't taught in our industry, because there's a lack of education, tools break, they wear out, and people get hurt just because, again, lack of education. And so I'm just giving you a little bit of information here about extending the life of your tools and safety. And one is, you're not supposed to use impact, but in reality we all know some guys are going to use impact. So I'm giving you a little heads up on a little bit of safety and a little bit of tool extension life. If you're going to abuse it in a nice soft way, and that's what I just explained to you, either in the hand or mounted to a big rough block of pliable rubber or urethane or something like that, something that when somebody goes overboard with an impact gun, it could take up some of the torque so it doesn't have that direct impact, and use EP grease. Alright guys, let's see if I could try to catch you me actually hammering on this thing. I don't know how I'm going to do it.